Feliz Kurube.
Members of the press, as you are all aware, Mr. President has summoned National Security Council meeting, and the major focus of the meeting today, on the basis of which deliberations were made, revolves around the election. The election, the 2023 election that is expected to take place come 25th, right? 25th day of February 2023. Before the National Security Council meeting of today, Federal Executive Council meeting had taken place, at which meeting Mr. President caused the national chairman of the INEC to brief the council relating to the preparations of INEC over the election. The chairman of INEC came around, made comprehensive submission, establishing their preparedness, establishing the fact that they are ready for the conduct of the election. Out of further abundance of caution, Mr. President equally caused the holding of this Council of State meeting, in which the INEC chairman was summoned to now present before the council the level of their preparedness over the conduct of the election. At that meeting of this Council of State meeting, the INEC chairman gave further confirmations, undertakings, presentations of their level of preparedness. Now, out of desire to further consolidate and appraise the comprehensive and general preparation of the system relating to the conduct of the election, this meeting, which is third in series of appraising and reviewing the state of preparedness, is called upon by the President, which is the National Security Council meeting. At the National Security Council meeting, briefings were made by security agencies generally and service chiefs. National Security Advisor made submission, Chief of Defense Staff made one, Chief of Army Staff made submission, Chief of Naval Staff made submission, Chief of Air Staff did, Inspector General of Police, who incidentally is equally addressing you, made submission, Director General State Security Service did, and indeed DGNIA and CDI all made submissions. The summary and conclusion of all submissions was to the effect that the system is wholeheartedly ready for the conduct of the election, and arising therefrom, the position of the government, the position of the president is to the effect that the election is holding on the 25th day of February 2023, and Mr. President and the Council, the National Security Council, are happy with the preparations on the ground, and wholehearted arrangements are put in place in that direction. So we have been mandated, arising from the conclusion of the Security Council meeting, to now brief you accordingly. But the summary of it, the conclusion of it, the resolution of the Council is to the effect that the elections are holding and there is no going back about it. On this note, I will invite the Inspector General of Police to address you on the issues associated with the level of security arrangements that are put in place, all establishing a position that the government is ready, set, and willing, and indeed prepared for the conduct of the election come 25th day of March of February 2023. The IGP, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Gentlemen of the press, once more, good afternoon. On behalf of the National Security Council that has just taken place, I wish to say or add to what the Attorney General of the Federation has just said. Specifically, the meeting dwelled on preparedness of all the security agencies and the military towards conducting free, fair, and credible election come 2025 February and that of 11th March 2023. The Council is satisfied that the Nigeria Police, leading other security agencies, and also the members of the armed forces and the intelligence community are all prepared towards providing the umpire, that is INEC, and the Nigerians, that is citizens who want to exercise their franchise, the opportunity to go out and exercise their right of voting on that day. We were able to inform Mr. President that security-wise, we've been able to crime map this country in terms of threat analysis, in terms of what we expect, what we need to do during, before, and after the elections. And the military have also pledged their commitment to support the process by providing the needed support at their own level, which requires different kind of assistance in terms of, because they may not be actually policing the election, but they are to ensure that no adversary, by whatever means, come out to disrupt the process. The INEC has also told us that it has everything in its custody. The Chief of Air Staff has confirmed his continuous commitment and support in making sure that where his assistance is needed, everything that requires his assistance in terms of deployment of materials will be done. So also the Chief of Naval Staff, who is going to give the same support in the riverine area, and we on our part are going to provide security, like I briefed this press sometime last week, that we expect we will be able to cover every polling station in this country with our men, and we also expect to provide a motorized patrol to ensure that no adversary come to, by any way, distract the electoral process. Thank you very much.
The IG will take questions that relates to him, and then thereafter I respond to those ones targeted at me. Thank you, IG, sir.
Yes. So I think the first question can equally be answered by the Attorney General. Why are the governors not being cautioned, or being arrested, or being investigated? That's what you are saying by implication. Even if they have committed what you allege to have been incitement. I think the Attorney General can answer that.
Go ahead, please.
We all know why. Unless you want to hear it from the mouth of the Attorney General or from that of the IG. We are investigating. Whoever does anything, he can be investigated. But for him to be prosecuted, there are people who have immunity. And I think that is some of the reasons. But that will not stop us from cautioning them and from warning them, from advising them, and we are doing so. As for, that is for the incitement by governors. Then so that's the only one that I have, except.
Any specific instruction?
Specific instruction is that we should maintain law and order. Sorry, one of the things is the issue of presence of combined operations in the streets of Lagos and Abeokuta. Yeah, these are joint operations aimed at stabilizing the internal security order before the election. So these are not operations that are targeted at the election, but it is targeted at stabilizing the situation, especially the one that came up as a result of the current, currency swap or whatever we can call it, where people go on vandalizing, destroying, and even committing arson and so forth. So this is what is required, is to bring down the situation, stabilize it. But on the election day, you will not see them in polling stations by the grace of God. We will be able to do that. As for specific instructions, yes, we have specific instruction. The specific instruction is that we must ensure that Nigerians are allowed to come out and exercise their franchise or vote the leaders of their choice. And for that, we must create conducive environment or atmosphere for Nigerians to exercise their right. We must also provide protection to INEC materials and officials to do their work. We must ensure that before, during, and after the election, whatever fallback it is, we do not have people who will take the laws into their hands, and if there is any, we should be able to check within the quickest possible means to ensure that it does not snowball into either bigger crisis. Thank you very much.
Now, on the issues raised, fundamentally, I will start with the first issue, in respect of which my reaction is sought, relating to an opinion allegedly issued by the Honorable Minister of Labor and Productivity to the effect that the President was ill-advised on the issue of Naira redesign. My immediate reaction to it is to draw your attention that as far as advice to Mr. President are concerned, there are multiple perspectives from which advices are tendered or perhaps processed to the President. There could be opinions or perhaps advices that have economic and monetary undertones arising from prevailing legislations. This opinion naturally comes from the central bank if the issue in contention is an issue that borders on regulatory, monetary and financial regulatory policies of government. There are issues equally that have legal undertones, in respect of which perhaps the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation Minister of Justice renders advisory services in terms of legal opinion. There are those issues equally that may have legislative or political undertones. So against the background of the multiple layers of profiling opinion, it will be difficult for me to arrive at a conclusion by way of reacting one way or the other to the submissions of the Honorable Minister in view of the fact that he wasn't specific as to the direction of the advisory that he was perhaps making reference to. So I am not arising from this in a position to join issues one way or the other, taking into consideration the multiplicity of the possibilities of advisory services. On the second issue, which indeed is an issue relating to the pending case at the Supreme Court, as we are coming out of the Security Council meeting, I came in direct into this hall to address you on the outcome of the Security Council meeting. I have not been officially and formally briefed as to what indeed happened at the Supreme Court. And more so, the matter pending before the Supreme Court is indeed sub judice. I am not as expected as the Chief Law Officer to be preemptive. But then bringing it down to the issue of what the adjournment, if indeed the matter has been adjourned, you requested to know what does that mean. It means it has been adjourned. So apparently, the further implication of adjournment is to the effect that there exists a live issue being considered by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will, within the context of its constitutional responsibility, look at it on the 3rd day of March, which indeed, according to you, is the date the matter has been adjourned to. We await the 3rd March to continue and expect the outcome from the Supreme Court accordingly. Thank you very much, members of the press. Thank you, sir.